Oh boy. Wow. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am glad to be here, and I am glad that you are here. Today's jank is in Historic, where we are playing a budget Rats deck. This deck, I recognize, is, first of all, has a couple of things that you need to be aware of. It is greedy, as all get out. We are on 17 lands and 4 Malakir Rebirth, so technically like 21, but really it's more like 17, right? So that we can cram as many really efficient creatures and stuff in as possible. So if you build it exactly as is, you have to know there will sometimes be some number of mana problems, right? So that being said, if you are unfamiliar, Rat Colony says 2 mana 2/1. Rat Colony gets +1/+0 for each other rat you control. A deck can have as many number of rat or cards called Rat Colony. So we have 24 rat colonies. Now, notably, this does get +1/+0 for each other rat, not just each other rat colony. So Typhoid Rats are rats, and a turn 1 attacking rat. Or, I'm sorry, a turn 1 play that can be attacking on turn 2. So it also buffs Rat Colony as well. The reason that this is one of the most budget decks we've built on the channel is that once you get 4 copies of Rat Colony, you have infinite number. You do not have to spend 24 wild cards to get 24 Rat Colonies. No. You need to spend 4. So these cards right here, you know, the basic lands and the Rat Colonies, all taken care of. There are some uncommons in Malakir Rebirth. These are technically optional. These could just be lands, potentially, or maybe some other MDFC if you don't have them. And then we have some removal. Fatal Pushes, Heartless Acts, the Rat Colonies. You should... Most people have... Or Typhoid Rats. Most people have some of these from the starter decks, I believe. And then the only other cards that are interesting here are Bojuka Bogs for graveyard interaction and Phyrexian Reclamation. This may not be one you're familiar with because it hasn't been in Standard in a long time. But Phyrexian Reclamation is a single black for an enchantment. Pay 2 mana, pay 2 life, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So our Rat Colonies will regularly be at least 3 ones if we have 2 of them out. Could be 4 ones if we have 3 rats out or whatever. So our opponent will be incentivized to kill them, or these will typically trade relatively well in creature-style matchups. We can just pay life and get them back to our hand, notably, not to the battlefield. But they're inexpensive enough that that's the thing. Notably, we will want at least 4 mana to do that, and we don't have a ton of lands, so that is a concern. This does give us a lot of game against the grindier, slower decks. Some of the decks we're really going to want to avoid here are things like Mono Red or something like that has plenty of reach, can throw burn right at our face. We don't have a lot of interaction there and stuff, and they will just be able to handle all of our creatures until the end of time. We don't have enough card advantage to prevent that. And then when we start using our card advantage engine, we start losing life. So, hoping to dodge those matchups, but come with me if you will, and let's see if we can win some games. All right, folks, here we go. We're up against Lord Shining, and yeah, we're going to keep this hand. Very good hand. We would like to see a Phyrexian Reclamation, but that's not strictly a requirement to win games here. We just need to go fast. That's what we need to do. We have been being on the draw an awful lot here, and darn it, we really want to be on the play. And by an awful lot, I think so far every game. So... Being on the play, very good. Very good. Opponent taking a mulligan, thinking about it. Taking another mulligan. Thinking about it. All right. Well, we get to start on a swamp. And we are going to try and swamp again. And a rat colony, sure. Oh boy, opponent on a watery grave. This could mean rogues. It could mean Sultai. It could mean Grixis. I don't think any of those are especially good matchups, though I do think our rogues matchup shouldn't be too terrible. Oh boy. Wow, it's Esper. Good heavens, that is surprising. I'm going to take the opportunity to scry. I would actually really like an untapped land here, I think. One of those problems when you put very, very few lands in your deck, folks. Sometimes you really wish you had them. Alright, well, we are not going to trade with this Charming Prince. We are just going to get it out of the way. Charge in there. For 2. And pass to Lord Shining. Your go, Lord Shining, your go. On 18 life. Opponent thinking about it. This opponent definitely appears to be fairly deliberate, thinking things over very carefully at every step of the way. Not quite sure what they're thinking about, obviously, because we haven't seen enough of their deck. This, if it's like a Charming Prince deck, wow, that's actually not terrible for us at all. All right. If it's Charming Prince deck, it's very likely a Doom Foretold deck, right? That would be my guess. So they're probably thinking about trying to get there. A lot of the time, the Charming Prince style decks don't run very many board wipes. So that much is very good. Opponent going to gain 3 life, draw a card. That's inconvenient. All right, well. We're going to kill Elite Guard Mage. We don't want that being blinked. No more cards being drawn for you. No more life being gained. And charge in for 6 damage. Lord Shining on 10 life. Cloudkin Seer enters the battlefield. Draws a card. It's a land. Fabled Passage. Can they follow it up with another creature? That would be really inconvenient if they could. Please say no. They are just fetching, so they don't have to worry about priority. Okay, that does appear to be the case. Alright, well, we're going to play our rats because this does technically present lethal. We're kind of expecting a trade and probably a kill spell. Heartless Act or something like that. Wow, no. Okay, so the opponent just takes it right down to 5 life. Yeah, folks, I think it was Doom Foretold. So, a Doom Foretold this turn is a very powerful play against a lot of decks, but a Doom Foretold this turn against us is nothing. You know, we sacrifice a 1/1, you know? So it would not help them very much. Feels good to finally be on the play and be able to cash in. All right, GG opponent, GG. All right, folks, we're on the play. We've got to take a mulligan there. I wouldn't say I feel great about it, but I think that's okay. We are going to keep this one. I think this is a very good hand for being a 6-card hand. We get the lead on Typhoid Rats, and then put away, I think just the Heartless Act. The more efficient nature of Fatal Push is definitely desirable. Oh boy, and a tap land. Yes, that's great. All right, Rat Colony number 1 coming on in. Typhoid Rats getting in at Arcotire's face. Good luck, Arcotire. What land do you go and fetch? It's a swamp. Okay. Is this... Okay. It's Abzan. Interesting. All right, well, we're going to advance the board with all of our rats here. This, just get as much damage in as possible. 6 damage right into Arcotire's face. Arcotire drops to 13. That is a 3rd mana, and it's Shrines? That I was not expecting. But good enough, ladies and gentlemen. If we go in uninteracted with, and especially on the play, we can advance the board with a lot of mana. And in fact, the opponent wasn't just conceding here for, oh, I can't win. They were conceding here because they were dead. 6 mana, or 6 damage, 6 damage, 1 damage, and 1 damage. Ladies and gentlemen, that's 14 damage, and our opponent was going to pay the ultimate price this turn. GG, opponent, GG. Alright, we will keep this. This is a good hand. Start on Phyrexian Reclamation, pass the turn. Folks, we are only seeing mono red decks. This is terrible. Oh boy. Phyrexian Reclamation, very good in grindy matchups, as long as we have life total to play with. Red decks do not allow us life total to play with, darn it. I mean, alright. Yeah, we're gonna trade. Opponent lights up the stage for another Scorch Spitter. Yeah, all of this is bad. Yeah. It's possible we were supposed to just play the Malakir Rebirth there as land drop. I guess I could see that. Opponent lightning strikes, Rat Colony. Scorch Spitter charges in for 1,000,000 damage. We drop to 17. No extra light at the stage. Okay, well, that's good. Well, we are going to just Rat Colony, Malakir Rebirth, tap, pass the turn. An untapped land here would be great. That means we could Rat Colony, Rat Colony. Oh my gosh, they have the Torbran. Can't take it. We've got a block. All right, and pass. Yeah, this feels bad, folks, but we do have to block. First of all, just to conserve our life total, but because we also can't Fatal Push a 4-drop unless one of our permanents has left the battlefield. So we got to get rid of Torbran, obviously. We will, you know, we cannot win the game with Torbran in play. But having to just chump block for that opportunity feels so bad. One of the reasons I'm not super thrilled with Fatal Push in Historic in general, but when you want it, it is very good. I will absolutely say that. Dr. Nick Riviera. Thinking very, very hard on their main phase. Not entirely sure what they're up to over there. 2 mana available. Could cast a Scorch Spitter they got off of Light Up the Stage. Have 2 remaining cards in hand we don't know about. We're expecting the Experimental Frenzy to come down next turn. So they could be trying to decide what to do with the final 2 cards in hand, because they won't be able to cast them if, you know, when they get down Experimental Frenzy. The question is, what does that mean, right? So, very likely an awful lot of decisions to be made here. Opponent thinking things over very, very carefully. Trying to decide, but has yet to take the action. We're just, of course, waiting for priority so that we can Fatal Push that Torbran. Get that thing out of here. Alright. Opponent times out. Just a thinking. That gives us plenty of time to play with our puppy. Roof, roof. All right. Opponent, deep in thought. Not quite sure what to do with their hand, so they are going to go to. Concede? I don't know. That doesn't make much sense to me, folks. They had I'm sure they were expecting us to fatal push the Torbran, and maybe these were just like lands or something. So they were just going to be living off the top of their library. With the Phyrexian Reclamation, we were going to be able to field a lot of rat colonies, and we will kill our opponent very quickly when that happens, but I'm really not sure why the concession. That was odd. That seems a little premature to me, but I guess we'll take it. So GG, opponent, GG. Oh boy, ladies and gentlemen, here we are up against Voltbit. Good luck, Voltbit. Appears our opponent is on mono brown. If we can get aggressive enough, I don't think mono brown is a terrible matchup. But they are off to just a crazy start as far as advancing their mana goes. This is the best they can ask for. Okay, into Mazemind Tome. I wouldn't say I'm thrilled about that, but it's also not the worst. Yeah, because if these were adding mana, that would be, you know, potentially game-ending, right? But it's not. So we're just going to get down a Malakir Mire. Charge in. We do have lethal in play if our opponent doesn't have a way of interacting. They've only currently got 4 mana, folks. So I'm not quite sure what they can get that gets them out of this. Okay. Radiant Fountain up to 11. We still have lethal. They have a Crawling Barrens, which would do it, except for the fact that we have multiple rat colonies and the fatal push. So we're going to do this. And attack. Okay, it is Crawling Barrens being animated. We are going to fatal push it. And the opponent scoops it up. All right, feels good. We were able to get aggressive. I am not confident I feel like we got probably just a little bit lucky there, folks, because I think our opponent going Mazemind Tome instead of like more mana rocks is what put them in this situation. If they had had a bunch of mana rocks like they regularly will, this would be very bad for us. But instead, we get the win. Feels good, man. Feels good. Welcome back, everyone. Yeah, I mean, I had a good time. I'm not gonna lie, there were a few games there where I got a little salty. We just kept facing off against Mono Red, and I really didn't want to face off against Mono Red too much. So that felt kind of bad. We did get a number of really good wins. We did have like you know, the ability to get really aggressive against some of the decks. I think our like Sultai matchup and stuff would be really good. We didn't end up seeing Sultai, which is a surprise. So Sultai is typically everywhere, but you know, it is acceptable. These things are fine. And on the whole, we won almost as many as we lost, or we might have lost one more. I'm not sure on the count. But either way, we were very close to even, which is better than I could have hoped for, honestly. I think if you build this deck, it's with the intent of trying to upgrade it and stuff, because I don't think this version is going to typically have quite the power that maybe some of our previous budget decks had without any upgrades at all. What are some of those upgrades? Well, first and foremost, if you're doing this, you're probably going to want to be playing with Pack Rat. Not only is it a rat, but it is a very, very powerful rat. Power and toughness equal to the number of rats you control. So it gets even more toughness with more rat colonies and stuff. But you can pay 3 mana, discard a card, create a token that's a copy of Pack Rat. So just the Pack Rat can grow beyond belief and get out of control, all the while being virtually the same as Rat Colony. Rat Colony does end up with basically +1/+0 more than the Pack Rat, but all of that additional toughness means Pack Rat doesn't even always have to trade in combat. It's very, very strong. Another one of the cards that you would likely want in this deck is Piper of the Swarm. Rats you control have menace, folks. So we aren't just required to trade with every 1/1, right? We typically get our rat colonies to have really pretty significant power, but when we've got to trade our, like a 5/1 rat with a 1/1, it just feels terrible, right? So giving our rats menace very, very strong, on top of the fact that this just does give us the ability to create rats turn after turn after turn with Piper of the Swarm in grindier matchups and things like that. So these cards, very, very strong. Specifically, I don't think you'd want to build it without. Obviously, Thoughtseize is a very, very strong turn 1 play. I could easily see getting rid of almost anything in the deck to get Thoughtseizes in. They're very, very strong. And just getting the board sweepers and things out of their hand could win us a lot of games. There are other cards like Castle Locthwain that just auto-include in this deck, give us ways of feeding our hand once we're out of cards, and basically free to include in the deck. The only exception here is that, it's a rare. Ogre Slumlord is interesting. I think this might be a card you actually want to avoid. As cool as it is, rats you control have Death Touch. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you may create a 1/1 black rat. The problem is it's a 5-drop, and that's just way too much, I think, in my opinion, for this style deck. We want to be really, really aggressive, and going that direction, probably not ideal. There is also Bloodchief's Thirst. We elected to go with the instant speed options. It is quite possible that we would rather have Bloodchief's Thirst instead of Heartless Act, for instance, just because of curved considerations, and I think that did bear out in the games. There were plenty of times when we had 3 mana but didn't have the 4th mana, and just having a sorcery speed removal spell would have been better than nothing. So that easily could be the case. That said, I think with just a few of those upgrades, like Pack Rat, like Piper of the Swarm, I think the deck gains a significant amount of power. Those are really, really powerful options, and you could even come down some number of rat colonies for them. You don't necessarily need 24 rat colonies here, folks. But you do want a critical mass of rats. That much is certain. So I really appreciate it. Thanks for being here, folks. I will look forward to seeing you all again next time.